Welcome to a deep dive
Oh, cool.
into something truly unique.
Okay.
Ashnikko's Halloweenie series. We've got 6 tracks released over several years. And let me tell you, they take us on a wild lyrical ride. Think dark,
Interesting.
playful,
Okay.
provocative, even a little bit gruesome at times.
Ooh.
But trust me, there's a lot more to unpack here than just shock value.
I believe it.
What's so fascinating about this series is how Ashnikko uses Halloween as this backdrop
Right?
to explore some really complex ideas about identity, desire,
Yes.
societal pressure. It's like they're using the mask of Halloween to reveal these deeper truths.
That's a cool concept.
Okay, so let's unpack this, starting with the first track, Halloweenie.
Yeah.
It really sets the stage for this entire series. Right from the start, you get this sense of fearless sexuality,
Okay.
a taste for the macabre,
Right.
and a complete rejection of expectation.
So like a rejection of societal norms or...
Like all of it.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's like Ashnikko is declaring their independence right out of the gate.
Yeah.
You hear lines like, trick or treat, I drink my drinks neat.
That's a good line.
It's confident, assertive, and it sets the tone for this defiant persona that carries through the entire series.
I like it.
And then there's...
And then there's that line, I like the taste of blood in my teeth. I mean, wow, talk about an attention grabber.
Yeah. Gotta look at you.
But it also introduces this recurring motif of blood that we see
Blood.
throughout the series.
Right.
What do you make of that?
Well, on one level, it plays into the Halloween aesthetic, right? Blood, violence, horror. It's all part of the package.
Right.
But I think Ashnikko is using blood as a symbol for something deeper.
Okay.
Perhaps it represents pain or the rawness of human experience or even a kind of primal energy.
That's a really interesting interpretation.
Yeah.
It makes you think about how those seemingly shocking elements can actually point to something much more profound.
Right.
And speaking of challenging expectations, there's another line in Halloweenie that really stands out to me. Found my number in his phone, then I pressed delete.
Oh, yeah. That one's great.
Yeah.
That line is all about taking control.
Yep.
It's about refusing to be objectified or manipulated in a relationship. It speaks to this fierce sense of self-ownership that runs through Ashnikko's work.
So we've got this bold personality, a fascination with the macabre, and a strong sense of self-determination. How do these elements evolve as we move into Halloweenie terrain? Pumpkin spice.
Well, pumpkin spice definitely cranks up the intensity.
Okay.
The sexuality is more overt. The language is even more brazen, and the Halloween imagery is in full force. It's like Ashnikko's leaning into that shock value, but there's still a playfulness to it.
Oh, definitely. And the humor's ramped up, too.
Yeah.
Pussy tight like he's fucking a pumpkin. That's a line you're not going to forget anytime soon.
Nope.
But it also feels like there's a deeper message about embracing your own uniqueness, even if it's considered freaky by societal standards.
Oh, absolutely. That's where the line, I don't need a costume because I'm already a freak, comes in. It's a declaration of self-acceptance, a refusal to conform to what's considered normal.
So it's like they're taking ownership of that label freak and turning it into a badge of honor.
Yeah.
It's about celebrating what makes you different and not apologizing for it.
Exactly. And that theme of embracing your true self, even the parts that society might reject, is something that continues to develop throughout the series.
Okay, so we've got this evolving sense of self-acceptance and this fearless attitude. But then things take a darker turn with Halloweenie the Third, 7 days, right?
Oh, yeah.
This one feels different, like we're going deeper into some more disturbing territory.
It is different. Yeah, 7 days introduces a new level of darkness and complexity.
Yeah.
It's structured like a narrative detailing these gruesome events leading up to Halloween. And the imagery is incredibly vivid, almost cinematic in its detail.
It's like a horror movie playing out in song form. Lines like, dueled in the moonlight, flesh in my teeth, and spelled my name in finger bones are incredibly evocative.
They really are.
Yeah.
And then there's that line about waking up without a face and accidentally baking her facial features into a cake.
Oh, God.
It's grotesque, sure, but there's also a kind of dark humor to it.
It's definitely unsettling, but it's also hard not to laugh at the absurdity of it all. But what's interesting is how those moments of grotesque humor are juxtaposed with lines that hint at a deeper internal struggle. Like, I don't feel like myself anymore. I can smell blood, and it's trailing out the door.
Right. Yeah, that's where 7 days really starts to get interesting. It's not just about shock value anymore.
Right.
There's a sense of internal conflict, a suggestion that beneath the surface bravado, there's something darker and more unsettling at play.
It makes you wonder if Ashnikko is using these gruesome narratives to explore deeper psychological themes, maybe even personal anxieties or traumas.
Possibly.
It's like, The Halloween mask is allowing them to express things that might be too difficult to confront directly.
That's a great point. And that exploration of the inner self, the tension between the external persona and the internal struggles, becomes even more pronounced in the next song, Halloweenie the Fourth, Innards.
Okay, so let's dive into that one. What's happening in Innards, and how does it build on what we've seen so far?
Well, Innards takes that grotesque imagery to a whole new level.
Okay.
But it's not just about shock value. It's about the feeling of being trapped inside your own skin, of having to contort yourself to fit into society's expectations.
There's that one line, I like to wear my human skin outside in disguise. I contort my body into something that you'd like. Have to sew my innards up, stitch them tight. I'm so shy. That's a powerful image of the pressure to conform, even if it feels painful and unnatural.
It's like Ashnikko saying that we all wear masks to some extent.
Yeah.
We hide our true selves behind these carefully constructed personas because we're afraid of being rejected or judged.
But then there's this other layer to innards, where those feelings of isolation and the desire for connection come through, like in the lines, can't escape my cold embrace, drag you to the bottom of the lake, be my friend.
Right. It's a strange mix of aggression and longing. It's like Ashnikko is saying, I want to connect with you, but I'm afraid to let you see the real me.
It's a complex and unsettling image. It makes you wonder if this cold embrace is a metaphor for the way we sometimes push others away, even when we desperately crave intimacy.
This is an interesting thought.
And that brings us to a turning point in this series with Halloweenie v. The Moss King. This is where the perspective shifts, and we're introduced to this mythical figure who represents temptation and transformation. All right, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about the Moss King and how this shift in perspective changes the dynamic of the series.
The Moss King is a fascinating character. He seems to embody those wild, untamed aspects of ourselves that we often try to suppress.
There's definitely a seductive quality to him. It's like he's offering this path to liberation, but it comes at a cost.
It does. You see that in lines like, dance till your feet bleed, join in the hunt. You would live forever if you help me to come. It's a provocative image that suggests a kind of surrender to primal desires, a willingness to embrace the darker, more chaotic aspects of life.
It makes you wonder what it means to be possessed by the Moss King. Is it about succumbing to temptation, or is there a deeper transformation happening here?
I think it's open to interpretation. On one hand, it could be about giving into those impulses that we usually keep under wraps, allowing ourselves to experience the world without inhibitions.
Yeah.
But it could also be about a more profound shift in consciousness, a merging with this primal force that leads to a new understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
It's interesting how this shift in perspective coincides with the change in Ashnikko's lyrical style.
You think so?
The language in the Moss King feels more poetic, more allegorical, as if we're entering a whole new realm of storytelling.
Absolutely. It's like we've left the realm of the personal and entered a more mythic archetypal space.
Yeah.
The Moss King becomes a symbol for something larger than himself, a force that represents those primal urges that exist within all of us.
And that brings us to the final chapter of this saga, Halloweenie the Sixth, Possess Me. This is where all those threads we've been following seem to come together.
It does feel that way. Possess Me feels like a culmination of everything that came before.
Yeah.
It brings back those themes of desire duality and power dynamics, but it also introduces a new level of vulnerability and desperation.
There's that line, possess me lightweight Lexapro, affect me exorcist sexy. Such a raw and honest expression of longing.
Yeah, and pain.
Yeah.
It's like Ashnikko is pleading for someone to see them.
To understand.
To understand them, even the parts that are messy and complicated.
And there's this tension between wanting to be in control and wanting to surrender to something larger than themselves.
Right.
It's like they're wrestling with these conflicting desires, trying to figure out where they fit in the grand scheme of things.
That push and pull is definitely present.
You really see that in the way they address the listener directly. Tell me all your secrets, I'll tell you mine. It's an invitation to connect on a deeper level, to share those hidden parts of ourselves that we usually keep guarded.
I see.
And then there's that final declaration, I am a shadow in the shape of a girl. I'm a bad omen with malevolent urges. Together, we could bring ruin to the kingdom. It's chilling, empowering, and a bit ambiguous all at the same time.
Wow, that's a powerful way to end the series. It leaves you with this sense that Ashnikko has fully embraced their power, their darkness, and their unique vision of the world.
It makes you wonder what that ruin might look like. Is it a destructive force, or could it be a form of liberation?
Right.
At breaking free from the constraints of societal norms and expectations.
That's the beauty of Ashnikko's work. It doesn't give you easy answers. It invites you to grapple with these complex questions and to find your own meaning within the chaos.
So we've journeyed through 6 songs, each one building upon the last, taking us deeper into Ashnikko's world. As we zoom out and look at the whole series, what stands out to you as the most significant through line?
For me, it's the evolution of Ashnikko's relationship with their own identity.
Okay.
We see them move from this initial bravado and shock value to a deeper exploration of their internal world, culminating in this embrace of their true self, shadows and all.
I think that's a really powerful observation.
Yeah.
It's like they're using these Halloween personas to explore different facets of themselves.
Yes.
To try on different masks and see what fits.
It's like an experimentation.
And in the process, they discover a sense of liberation and self-acceptance that feels truly authentic.
Exactly. And that journey of self-discovery is something that a lot of people can relate to,
Definitely.
especially those who feel like they don't quite fit in with the mainstream.
It's about finding your own path, even if it leads you through some dark and unexpected places.
Absolutely. And it's about owning your power, your uniqueness, and your right to express yourself without apology.
So while we've been focusing on the lyrical content, what role do you think the music itself plays in shaping the overall message of the Halloweenie series?
Oh, the music is essential.
Oh.
Ashnikko's sound is as unique and eclectic as their lyrics.
Yeah.
They blend pop, hip-hop, electronic music, and even a bit of rock, creating a soundscape that's both catchy and unsettling.
It's like the music is mirroring the themes of duality and transformation that we see in the lyrics.
Exactly. There are moments of sweetness and light, but there's also this underlying darkness and intensity that keeps you on edge.
And the production itself is really interesting.
Yeah.
It often feels dark and atmospheric with these heavy beats and distorted synths that create a sense of unease.
It's like you're being transported to another world,
Yes.
a world that's both alluring and dangerous. And that sonic landscape perfectly complements the lyrical content, adding another layer of depth and complexity to the experience.
It's like the music is giving us a sonic representation of those internal struggles that Ashnikko is exploring in the lyrics.
I think that's a great way to put it. The music isn't just background noise, it's an integral part of the storytelling, enhancing the themes of darkness,
Yeah.
transformation, and rebellion that run throughout the series.
Now, we've talked a lot about how Ashnikko uses Halloween as a backdrop for these songs. Why do you think that setting is so effective for exploring these themes?
Well, Halloween has always been a time for exploring the darker side of ourselves, for playing with those taboo impulses that we usually keep hidden.
It's a time when the boundaries between reality and fantasy blur, and we're allowed to step outside of ourselves and try on different identities.
Exactly. And Ashnikko takes full advantage of that,
Yeah.
using the Halloween setting to push boundaries, to explore the fluidity of identity, and to celebrate the unconventional.
It's like the mask of Halloween gives them permission to be more honest, to express things that might be considered too shocking or controversial in a more straightforward context.
I think that's a big part of it. It also creates this sense of playfulness and theatricality that allows them to explore those darker themes without getting bogged down in seriousness.
I love that. It's about acknowledging the darkness,
Yeah.
but also having fun with it, not taking yourself too seriously.
Right.
So as we approach the end of our deep dive,
Yeah.
what's your final takeaway for our listener?
Okay.
The one thing you want them to remember.
I think the most important takeaway is to embrace your own inner Halloweenie.
I love that.
Don't be afraid to explore those messy,
Yeah.
complicated parts of yourself,
Yeah.
even the ones that society might deem unacceptable.
It's about finding your own version of ruin, breaking free from those limiting beliefs and expectations that hold you back.
Exactly. And it's about celebrating your uniqueness, your individuality, and your right to express yourself authentically without apology.
That's such a powerful message.
Yeah.
So if our listener were to take just one thing away from this deep dive, it would be to embrace their inner Halloweenie.
Absolutely.
What a great way to put it.
Yeah, I like that.
You know, it's interesting how Ashnikko manages to weave those themes of self-acceptance and rebellion into a series of songs that are undeniably fun to listen to.
That's the real genius of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're tackling some heavy subjects, but
Yeah.
doing it with a wink and a smile.
Exactly.
That's
Sometimes they're saying, yeah, the world can be a dark and messed up place.
Right.
But we can still find joy and liberation in the midst of it all.
Yes, and I think that's a message that resonates with a lot of people,
For sure.
especially those who feel like they don't quite fit in with the mainstream.
Right. It's a reminder that it's okay to be different.
Yes.
To embrace your quirks and your shadows
Mm-hmm.
and to find your own tribe of fellow Halloweenies.
Find your people.
And who knows, maybe by embracing those parts of ourselves, we can actually change the world for the better.
It's possible. I like that idea.
So before we wrap up our deep dive,
You okay?
is there anything else you think our listeners should know about the Halloweenie series? Any hidden gems or insights we haven't touched on yet?
Well, one thing that I find fascinating is how this series showcases Ashnikko's growth as an artist. From the first Halloweenie to the final Possess Me, you can see a real evolution in their songwriting and their confidence.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I noticed that too. The lyrics become more layered, the imagery more evocative, and the themes more complex as the series progresses.
Exactly. It's like they're peeling back the layers, revealing more of their inner world with each song. And the music itself becomes more sophisticated and nuanced, reflecting that artistic growth.
It's really impressive to see how they've honed their craft over time.
It is.
It makes you excited to see what they'll do next.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. Ashnikko is an artist who is constantly pushing boundaries and evolving, and that's what makes them so captivating.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here today. We've explored the themes, the lyrics, the music, and the overall impact of the Halloweenie series. What a wild and insightful journey it's been.
It has. It's been a pleasure diving deep into these songs with you. I always discover something new every time I revisit them.
Me too. So to our listener out there, we encourage you to take a listen to the Halloweenie series for yourself. You might just find yourself surprised by what you discover.
Absolutely. And who knows, you might even find a little bit of your own inner Halloweenie along the way.
That's a perfect note to end on. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never be afraid to embrace your own unique darkness.
And remember, sometimes the most beautiful things grow in the shadows.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Ashnikko's Halloweenie series. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.
Sounds good.
All right, take care.
You too.